York Nightly News with Chuck Scarborough.
If you heard Janice's forecast, you know it is going to be a gorgeous weekend. And if you need some beach reading, you may want to try the new thriller Eyes Wide Open. Why? Best-selling author Andrew Gross is here to tell us. Andrew, your new book is called Eyes Wide Open. And first of all, let's just establish that this is not your first book. You're the author of several best-selling thrillers.
No, I guess I've done,
I've
had 5 best-selling thrillers myself, and I also did 6 with Jim Patterson.
Yes, well-known author as well. And most ideas for thrillers rip from the headlines, but this is a personal story for you and ties into a meeting you had with...
Yes, my last couple of books all ended up in conspiracies about the financial meltdown or the Iraq War conspiracies. But this book came from 2 incidents from my own life. One of them, sadly, was a suicide of a young nephew of mine who was found at the bottom of a famous cliff in California on the rocks.
Terrible.
And the other, decades ago, is when, as you say, I had an encounter at my father's house with this gaunt, straggly-haired, coal-eyed person who a year later became known as the most notorious cult killer in American history.
Charles Manson.
Charles Manson.
And he is the main character in your book, Eyes Wide Open?
No, just to be clear. He's a presence.
Okay.
No, he's a presence in it, or he isn't, but a Manson-like character who has been in prison. I don't do blood or gore very well, so I don't want people to think that it's sort of a book about Manson killings. It is a book about revenge. It is a book about vendettas, but it's also a book about this suicide and 2 brothers, one successful, one wayward, a child of the 60s, one picking up clues that maybe this suicide wasn't a suicide after all, and the other, his father, who wants to keep everything hidden.
Now, your chance encounter with Charles Manson many years ago, can you just tell us a brief story about that, you and your brother? Well,
my older brother, was out in L.A. trying to become a rock musician. He must have hooked up at some point with him through either Terry Melcher, who was Doris Day's son and was part of the rock scene then, or maybe at the Spawn Ranch, I don't know, but he came up to my father's house with this guy trying to pitch money to make a demo. And it was an eerie scene because my brother and father fought. So the scene, which is described in the book, deteriorated quickly, and actually Manson was so eerily polite the whole time that it almost was as if his politeness was a threat, but it stayed with us our whole life, my sister and me.
Even inspiring you to write this particular book. Thank you very much, Andrew Gross, author of the new book, Eyes Wide Open, and it is out in bookstores right now.
It's out, should be everywhere, yeah.
All right, thank you. Coming up, the witching...